The Great Hall of the Galactic Council was bigger than any building on Earth. Thousands of alien beings sat in floating chairs that moved through the air like magic. The walls were made of crystal that showed pictures of space battles and burning planets. The smell in the air was strange, like metal and flowers mixed together. Ambassador Jake Morrison stood in the center of the hall. He was a tall man with gray hair and scars on his face from old battles. His blue uniform had the Earth symbol on it, a picture of his home planet. Around him, 47 different alien species watched and waited. Jake looked up at the biggest alien in the room. Prime Vextar was made of living crystal that changed colors when he spoke. He was 20 feet tall, and his voice sounded like music and thunder at the same time. Ambassador Morrison, Prime Vextar said, "We have made a very good peace deal. For your people, the fighting will stop. Your ships can mine in the star systems you want. No one will go to jail for the battles that happened. This is more than fair." Jake stood straight and looked at the crystal being without fear. Behind him, Dr. Lisa Carter wrote notes on her small computer. She was a smart woman who studied aliens and their ways. She had told Jake this moment would come. Prime Vextar. Jake said in a clear voice, "I thank you and the Council for working hard on this peace deal. But the people of Earth must say no to your offer." The hall exploded with noise. Aliens made sounds like screaming birds, growling dogs, and singing whales. The computers that changed their words into English could not keep up. Some aliens stood up. Others flew around the room. A few shot colors from their bodies like fireworks. Jake did not move. He had fought in 3 wars among the stars. He had seen things that would make most people run away crying. These aliens were angry and scared, but they were not shooting at him. Not yet. Dr. Lisa Carter smiled a little as she watched the chaos. She had studied these aliens for 10 years. She knew they had never heard the word no from a species they thought was weak. Snake-like alien with 6 arms slithered close to Jake. "Human," it hissed. "You do not understand what you are doing. No one says no to the Council. No one." "We just did," Jake replied calmly. The snake alien's eyes grew wide. It had expected fear, begging, or anger. It had not expected calm certainty. Prime Vextar made a sound like breaking glass. The hall became quiet. "Ambassador Morrison, perhaps you did not understand our offer. Let me explain it again." Jake shook his head. "I understood perfectly. The answer is still no." Dr. Lisa Carter stood up next to Jake. She was much smaller than him, but she had the same calm look in her eyes. "Prime Vextar, the human people have always been grateful for the Council's help. But we cannot accept a peace that asks us to give up who we are." A floating brain in a glass tank spoke with a voice like a computer. "Explain this refusal." "Our calculations show that humans will be destroyed if the fighting continues. You cannot win against this Antari Empire. You cannot win against the Council. Logic demands that you accept peace." Jake looked at the brain creature. "You're right. We probably can't win. But that doesn't mean we'll give up." The crystal being. Prime Vextar's color changed from blue to red. "You would rather die than accept peace? This is madness." "No," Jake said. "This is humanity." A small, furry alien that looked like a teddy bear spoke in a tiny voice. "But why? The terms are good. You get to keep your colonies. You get to keep your ships. You just have to promise not to expand too fast and let us watch your military." "Why is this bad?" Dr. Lisa Carter stepped forward. "Because you're asking us to put chains on ourselves. You're asking us to live in a cage that you built. You're asking us to be pets instead of partners." The hall filled with confused sounds. Many of the aliens had never heard words like these before. In their worlds, the strong ruled the weak. The old controlled the young. The big ate the small. The idea that someone would choose freedom over safety was completely new to them. Prime. Vexstar's crystal body flickered like a broken light. Ambassador Morrison, I will ask you one more time. Will you accept the peace terms offered by the Galactic Council? Jake Morrison looked around the Great Hall. He saw fear in the eyes of creatures that had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. He saw anger in beings that had never been told no. He saw confusion in minds that could not understand why anyone would choose a hard path over an easy one. Prime Vexstar, Jake said, the United Earth Republic respectfully declines your peace offer. We will make our own peace on our own terms, or we will make our own war. The silence that followed was different from the chaos before. This silence was cold and dangerous. It was the silence of predators deciding whether to attack or retreat. Dr. Lisa Carter felt the change in the air. She had studied these aliens, but she had also studied humans. She knew that her people had just declared war on the entire galaxy. She knew that most of the aliens in this room thought humans were crazy. She also knew that the aliens were about to learn something new about humanity. They were about to learn that humans had been preparing for this moment since the day they first met other species among the stars. Jake Morrison put his hand on his chest over his heart. We are not afraid of you. We are not afraid of war. We are not afraid of death. We are only afraid of living as something less than what we are. Prime Vexstar's crystal body turned black. Then you have chosen your path, Ambassador Morrison. The Council will remember this day. Jake nodded. So will humanity. As the two men and the woman from Earth walked out of the Great Hall, every alien in the room watched them go. Some were angry. Some were scared. But all of them knew that the galaxy had just changed forever. The age of human cooperation was over. The age of human independence had begun. 3 hours after the humans said no, the Council met again in secret. This time, the Great Hall was empty except for the most important aliens. The crystal walls showed red warning lights, and the air smelled like fear. Captain Roy Bennett sat in his ship high above the Council station. The U.E. Intrepid was a human warship with big guns and thick armor. It had been parked near the station to show that humans wanted peace. Now it felt more like a threat. Captain, said Lieutenant Amy Foster, looking at her computer screen. Aliens are moving their war fleets. 12 groups of ships are heading toward human space. Each group has more ships than our entire Navy. Roy nodded, but did not look worried. They're scared, Amy. Scared aliens do stupid things? Amy looked at the numbers on her screen again. Sir, we're talking about thousands of ships, the biggest fleet in the galaxy. How are we supposed to fight that? Roy smiled. The same way humans have always fought impossible battles. We find a way to win anyway. Down in the council hall, Prime Vexstar stood before the other alien leaders. His crystal body was flashing red and orange, colors that meant danger and anger. Friends, he said, we have a big problem. The humans have refused our peace. If we let them continue growing stronger, they will become too dangerous to stop. A 6-armed alien named Zarathul waved all her arms at once. The humans are not like other species. When we fight most people, they run away when they start losing. Humans don't run. They fight until they win or die. Their ships are built wrong too, said Fleet Admiral Corvin, a tall blue alien with 4 eyes. Most species build ships that can take damage and defend themselves. Human ships are made to attack and move fast. They don't care about getting hurt. They only care about hurting their enemies. The other aliens made worried sounds. Some clicked their claws. Others hummed low songs. A few shot sparks from their bodies. Dr. Nathan Hayes sat in the corner, taking notes. He was the only human allowed to stay and watch. Most of the aliens wanted him to leave, but the rules said every species could have someone present during meetings. Nathan was a quiet man with kind eyes and gray hair. He had spent years learning about alien cultures. He understood why they were afraid, but he also understood why they were wrong. "If I may speak," Nathan said, standing up slowly. The hall became quiet. All the aliens turned to look at him. Some looked angry. Others looked curious. A few looked like they wanted to eat him. The council seems to think that humans refused peace because we want war. This is not true. Prime Vextar's crystal body turned dark blue. "Then why did you refuse our generous offer?" Nathan took a deep breath. "Because it wasn't really peace. It was surrender. You asked us to limit how many children we could have. You asked us to stop exploring new worlds. You asked us to let you control our military. These are not the terms of peace between equals. These are the terms that winners give to losers." The snake-like alien from earlier slithered forward. "You are losers. You have fewer ships, fewer worlds, fewer people. You should be grateful we offered you anything at all." Nathan shook his head. "That's where you're wrong. We're not losers. We're just getting started." The aliens looked at each other with confusion. They had studied human history. They knew that humans had only been in space for a short time. They knew that human technology was still primitive compared to theirs. "You speak of principles," said the floating brain in the glass tank. "But principles cannot stop laser beams. Philosophy cannot destroy battle fleets. You are being emotional instead of logical." Nathan smiled. "You're right. Principles and philosophy can't stop weapons. But they can do something much more powerful. They can make people willing to die for something bigger than themselves." The furry teddy bear alien spoke up. "But why die when you can live? Why choose war when you can have peace?" "Because," Nathan said, "some things are more important than being alive. Freedom is one of those things. The right to choose our own path is another. The right to protect our friends and families is a third." Prime Vextar made a sound like breaking glass. "These are just words. When our fleets arrive at your worlds, your people will beg for the peace they refused today." Nathan looked directly at the crystal being. "Prime Vextar, you've made a mistake. You think humans are like other species. You think we will break when pressured. You think we will surrender when threatened. But you don't understand who we are." The hall was completely silent now. Even the air-moving machines seemed to stop working. "When your fleets arrive at our worlds," Nathan continued, "you will not find scared people begging for mercy. You will find every human ready to fight. Men, women, young people, old people, farmers, teachers, miners, doctors. All of them will pick up weapons and stand together." "Impossible," whispered Admiral Corvin. "No species fights with their entire population. Only trained soldiers go to war." Nathan shook his head. "Admiral, you still don't understand. For humans, there are no non-combatants when our freedom is threatened. Every human is a soldier when they need to be." The aliens started making worried sounds again. This was completely outside their understanding. In their worlds, only special people fought wars. Regular people stayed home and waited for the results. "You see," Nathan said, "humans have a saying, 'Give me liberty or give me death.' It means we would rather die free than live as slaves. Every human child learns this from the time they can walk." Prime Vextar's crystal body began to flicker between colors. "Dr. Hayes, are you telling us that humans would rather be destroyed than accept our protection?" Nathan looked around the room at all the worried alien faces. "I'm telling you that humans don't need your protection. We never have. What we need is your respect. What we want is your friendship. What we will accept is your recognition that we are equals, not subjects." The silence stretched on for a long time. Finally, the floating brain spoke. "If humans will not accept peace and cannot be defeated, what do you suggest we do?" Nathan smiled. "Try actually talking to us instead of talking at us. Try asking what we want instead of telling us what we should want. Try treating us like partners instead of problems to be solved." Prime Vextar's crystal body turned completely black. "And if we choose not to do these things?" Nathan's smile disappeared. "Then you'll learn why humans have survived every disaster, won every impossible war, and never accepted defeat in our entire history. You'll learn why the most dangerous thing in the galaxy is not a black hole or a supernova. It's a human being who has nothing left to lose." As Nathan sat back down, every alien in the room realized that they had made a terrible mistake. They had thought they were dealing with just another primitive species. Instead, they had awakened something that might be unstoppable. The war room on the UES Intrepid was full of people working at computer screens. Admiral Kate Sullivan stood in the center, looking at a big display that showed all the alien ships moving toward human space. The numbers were scary. 15 alien. Ships for every human ship. "Admiral," said Colonel Steve Parker, "the math is bad. Really bad. If they all attack at once, we won't last a day." Kate looked at the display and smiled. She was a small woman with short black hair and eyes that had seen too many battles. "Steve, you're thinking like them. You're thinking that more. Ships always win, don't they?" asked Major Linda Torres, who was in charge of the ground troops. "I mean, 15 to 1 sounds pretty final to me." Kate walked over to another screen that showed messages from human colonies all over the galaxy. "Linda, let me ask you something. If someone broke into your house and threatened your family, what would you do?" "I'd fight them," Linda answered without thinking. "What if there were 2 of them?" "I'd still fight." "What if there were 10 of them?" Linda paused, then said, "I'd still fight. I'd probably lose, but I'd fight." Kate nodded. "That's the difference between us and them. They think about winning and losing. We think about right and wrong." Back on the council station, the emergency meeting had been going on for a whole day. The aliens were tired and stressed. Some were making angry sounds. Others were too scared to make any sounds at all. Ambassador Jake Morrison stood in the middle of the room again. This time, he had brought more humans with him. Each one was an expert on something important. "Council members," Jake said, "you keep asking why we said no to your peace offer. I want to explain it in a way you can understand." Prime Vextar's crystal body was gray now, the color of exhaustion. "Please do, Ambassador Morrison. We are running out of time and patience." Dr. Sarah Kim stepped forward. She was a woman who studied how people think and what makes them act. "Prime Vextar, your peace offer asked us to do 3 things. First, you wanted us to have fewer children. Second, you wanted us to stop exploring new worlds. Third, you wanted us to let you control our military." The teddy bear alien spoke up. "These are reasonable requests. Population control prevents overcrowding. Expansion limits prevent conflicts. Military oversight ensures peace." Sarah shook her head. "Those aren't reasonable requests. Those are the rules you give to prisoners. You're asking us to stop being human." "Explain this," said the floating brain. General Frank Anderson, an old soldier with gray hair and many battle scars, stepped forward. "The right to have children is basic. The right to explore is basic. The right to defend ourselves is basic. You're asking us to give up everything that makes life worth living." The 6-armed alien Zarathul waved her arms. "But you would be safe. You would have peace. You would not die in wars." Frank looked at her with sad eyes. "Ma'am, there are things worse than dying. Living on your knees is one of them." The aliens made confused sounds. In their worlds, safety was the most important thing. They could not understand why anyone would choose danger over security. Jake Morrison walked closer to Prime Vexstar. Let me tell you about the real problem. The Zentari Empire has been taking over small worlds for 100 years. They make slaves of the people they conquer. They destroy cultures. They kill anyone who resists. The Council knows this, Prime Vexstar said, but stopping them would cause a huge war. So you let them continue, Jake said. You let them destroy world after world because fighting them would be hard. You chose easy peace over hard justice. The snake alien slithered forward. Justice is a luxury. Peace is a necessity. Jake looked at the snake being. That's where you're wrong. Justice isn't a luxury. It's the foundation of real peace. Without justice, you don't have peace. You just have temporary quiet while the strong get stronger and the weak get weaker. Dr. Sarah Kim opened her small computer and showed pictures of destroyed worlds. These are the planets the Zentari have conquered while the Council watched. Millions of people dead or enslaved. Entire cultures wiped out. This is what your peace has cost. The aliens looked at the pictures with uncomfortable eyes. They had seen these reports before, but they had always found reasons to do nothing. The Zentari are too strong, said Admiral Corvin. Fighting them would cost too many lives. General Frank Anderson laughed, but it was not a happy sound. Admiral, they're going to keep taking worlds until someone stops them. The only question is whether you stop them now or wait until they're even stronger. And that's why we said no to your peace offer, Jake said. Because it would let the Zentari keep what they've stolen. It would tell other bullies that the Council rewards conquest. It would make the galaxy a more dangerous place, not a safer one. The floating brain made electronic sounds. But humans cannot defeat the Zentari Empire alone. They have thousands of ships and millions of soldiers. Jake smiled. You're probably right. We probably can't beat them alone. But we're not going to be alone. The aliens looked confused. What do you mean? Dr. Sarakim stood up. We've been talking to the other species that the Council has ignored. The small worlds that live in fear of the Zentari. The colonies that have been abandoned. The people who have been told to accept injustice for the sake of peace. They're tired of being afraid, General Frank Anderson added. They're tired of watching their neighbors disappear. They're tired of being told that their freedom doesn't matter. Jake Morrison looked around the room at all the worried alien faces. You see, the Council made a mistake. You thought this was about humans against everyone else. But it's not. It's about free people against tyrants. It's about those who believe in justice against those who believe in convenience. Prime Vextar's crystal body began to flicker between colors. You are trying to start a revolution. No, Jake said calmly. We're trying to finish one. The revolution started when the first species decided they didn't want to be ruled by fear. It's been growing ever since, waiting for someone to stand up and say, enough. The teddy bear alien spoke in a tiny voice. But if you fight, many will die. Jake nodded sadly. Yes, many will die. But they'll die free, and their children will live free, and their grandchildren will never know what it means to bow to tyrants. The silence in the room was thick and heavy. Every alien there understood that the humans had not just refused peace. They had declared war on the entire system that kept the galaxy stable. So what happens now? Asked Prime Vexstar. Jake Morrison stood straight and looked the crystal being in the eye. Now you choose. You can try to force us to accept your peace and learn what happens when free people are pushed too far. Or you can join us in building something better. A galaxy where peace comes from justice, not fear. The aliens looked at each other with worried eyes. They had thought they were dealing with one stubborn species. Instead, they had discovered that they were facing something much bigger and more dangerous than they had imagined. They were facing the idea that freedom was worth dying for, and that idea, once loose in the galaxy, might be impossible to stop. The human colony of New Denver was built on a world that nobody else wanted. The planet was mostly desert with terrible storms and very little water. The council had said it was impossible to live there. But humans had built a city anyway. Governor Chris Martinez stood on top of the tallest building in New Denver, watching the last ships leave the planet. The ships were full of families with small children. Most people had chosen to stay and fight, but those with babies were sent to safety. "The council fleet will be here in 4 hours," said Defense Coordinator Rachel Wong. She was looking at her computer screen, watching the enemy ships get closer. "They sent us a message. They want us to surrender, or they'll bomb the city from space." Chris nodded, but didn't look worried. He was a big man with kind eyes and hands that were rough from years of building things. "What about the other colonies?" "Same thing everywhere," Rachel said. "The council is demanding surrender from 47 human worlds at the same time. They think if they hit us all at once, we won't be able to help each other." Chris smiled. "They still don't understand us, do they?" What the council didn't know was that humans had been planning for this day since they first met aliens. Every colony had the same orders: never surrender, never retreat, never give up. Rachel looked at her screen again. "Chris, we have 2 million people here, but only 50,000 trained soldiers. The rest are farmers, teachers, doctors, engineers. How are they supposed to fight spaceships?" Chris pointed to the desert around the city. "See those hills? We've been digging tunnels under them for 10 years. Every building in the city has a basement that connects to the tunnel system. Every family has weapons and food stored underground. But they have ships that can destroy the whole planet," Rachel said. "Yes," Chris agreed, "but they won't destroy the planet. They want to rule it, and you can't rule dead ground. They'll have to come down here and fight us face to face." Back at the council station, the emergency meeting was still going on. The aliens had been arguing for 2 days without sleep. Some were falling over from exhaustion. Others were making strange sounds that meant they were very upset. Dr. Nathan Hayes sat quietly in his corner, watching the aliens panic. He felt sorry for them, but he also knew this moment had to come. The galaxy needed to change, and change was always painful. "The humans are insane," said Admiral Corvin, waving his 4 arms. "Our battle computers show they cannot win. Why won't they surrender?" The snake alien was coiled in a tight circle, which meant it was very afraid. "Perhaps they don't understand what will happen to them if they lose." Dr. Nathan Hayes stood up slowly. "Admiral, they understand perfectly. They also understand what will happen if they win." "They cannot win," said the floating brain. "Mathematics does not lie. 15 to 1 odds means certain defeat." Nathan shook his head. "You're still thinking about this wrong. You think war is about ships and guns and numbers. For humans, war is about ideas, and ideas are much harder to kill than people." Prime Vextar's crystal body was flashing red and orange, the colors of anger and fear. "Dr. Hayes, your people are about to be destroyed. Doesn't this concern you?" Nathan looked at the crystal being with sad but calm eyes. "Prime Vextar, my people stopped being afraid of death a long time ago. We learned that some things are more important than being alive." "Such as?" asked the teddy bear alien. "Freedom, justice, the right to choose our own path, the right to protect those who can't protect themselves, the right to say no to bullies, even when they're bigger than us." The 6-armed alien Zarathal made frustrated sounds. "These are just words. Our ships have real weapons that will kill real people." Nathan nodded. "You're right. Your ships will kill many humans. But killing humans won't kill the idea of freedom. Other species are watching this fight. If you destroy us, they'll remember that the Council kills anyone who says no. If we fight well before we die, they'll remember that it's possible to stand up to tyrants. The aliens looked at each other with growing fear. They were beginning to understand that this war might not end even if they won. Meanwhile, on the planet New Denver, the Council ships had arrived. 12 huge battle cruisers hung in the sky like metal mountains. Each ship was bigger than the entire human city. Governor Chris Martinez stood in the main square of New Denver with 50,000 other people. Every person carried a weapon. Every face showed the same calm determination. "Citizens of New Denver," Chris said, his voice carried by speakers to every part of the city. "Today we face our greatest test. The Council wants us to kneel. They want us to give up our freedom for their promise of safety." The crowd was completely quiet. Even the children were listening carefully. "But we know something they don't understand," Chris continued. "We know that safety without freedom is just a comfortable prison. We know that peace without justice is just organized surrender." A young woman in the crowd raised her hand. "Governor Martinez, what if they destroy the city from space?" Chris looked at her with kind eyes. "Then we'll fight from the tunnels. And if they destroy the tunnels, we'll fight from the ruins. And if they destroy the ruins, our children will remember that we died standing up instead of living on our knees." An old man called out, "What if we can't win?" Chris smiled. "Friend, we've already won. The moment we said no to their demands, we won. The moment we chose to fight instead of surrender, we won. Whatever happens next, the galaxy will remember that humans don't bow to tyrants." The crowd began to cheer, but it wasn't the wild cheering of people who were excited. It was the steady, determined cheering of people who had made peace with their choice. Above them, the Council ships began to move into attack position. The commander of the fleet, Admiral Taishin, looked down at the human city with confusion. "They're not running," he told his officers. "They're not even trying to hide. They're just standing there, waiting for us." "Perhaps they don't understand our weapons," suggested his second-in-command. Admiral Taishin shook his head. "No, they understand. Look at their faces on the viewing screen. They know exactly what's about to happen. They just don't care." The Admiral had fought many battles against many species. He had seen armies run in terror when they saw his ships. He had seen entire planets surrender rather than face bombardment, but he had never seen anything like this. "Sir?" asked his weapons officer. "Should we begin the attack?" Admiral Taishin looked at the humans standing calmly in their city square. He saw children holding their parents' hands. He saw old people standing next to young people. He saw farmers standing next to soldiers, all of them ready to die for something they believed in. For the first time in his long military career, Admiral Taishin hesitated. He was about to learn what every conqueror throughout history had learned when they faced humans. It was easy to defeat an army. It was much harder to defeat an idea. And it was almost impossible to defeat people who were not afraid to die for what they believed was right. The first battle happened at a small human colony called Frontier's Edge. The Council fleet expected an easy victory. They had 10 ships against 1 human defense station. And math said the humans would surrender in minutes. Instead, the humans fought like wild animals protecting their cubs. Their single defense station moved in ways that seemed impossible. It dodged between the Council ships, firing constantly, never staying still long enough to be hit easily. Admiral Kate Sullivan watched the battle from her ship, the UES Intrepid. She was far enough away to be safe, but close enough to see everything that happened. "The Council fleet is pulling back," reported Lieutenant Commander Paul Garcia, looking at his screen in surprise. "They're asking for help. They say the humans are fighting like demons. Kate smiled, but it was not a happy smile. Paul, send the signal to all our ships. It's time for Phase 2. What the Council didn't know was that humans had been preparing for this war for years. Every trade ship that visited alien worlds had been gathering information. Every diplomat had been studying alien weaknesses. Every cultural exchange had been a chance to learn how their enemies thought. At the Council station, the news from Frontiers Edge hit like a bomb. The aliens who had expected easy victory were now faced with reports of human tactics that made no sense. This is impossible, Admiral Corvin said, reading the battle reports. One human station destroyed 3 of our ships and damaged 5 others. Our computers said we had a 98% chance of winning. War leader Krextall of the Zentari Empire had been quiet during most of the Council meetings. He was a huge alien that looked like a cross between a bear and a lizard. His species had been fighting humans longer than anyone else. Admiral, Krextall said in a voice like grinding stone, "Your computers don't understand humans. I do." The council chamber became very quiet. Everyone wanted to hear what the Zentari leader had to say. "I have fought the humans for 3 years," Krextall continued. "I have watched them do things that should be impossible. They charge at ships 10 times bigger than theirs. They hold positions that cannot be held. They sacrifice themselves for people they barely know." Prime Vextar's crystal body flickered between colors. But how do they win battles they should lose? Krextall made a sound like laughing, but it was not a pleasant sound. Because they don't fight to win battles. They fight to win wars. They don't fight for territory. They fight for ideas. They don't fight with their heads. They fight with their hearts. The snake alien slithered forward. Hearts cannot stop laser. Weapons, no, Krextall agreed. But hearts can make people do things that laser weapons cannot stop. When a human sees a friend in danger, they will fly their ship into enemy fire to save them. When a human sees injustice, they will fight even when they know they will die. When humans believe in something, they become more dangerous than any weapon. Dr. Nathan Hayes stood up in his corner. War leader Krextall is right, but he's missing the most important part. All the aliens turned to look at the quiet human scientist. "The most dangerous thing about humans," Nathan said, "is not that we fight hard. It's that we fight smart. Every battle you've won against us has taught us something new. Every defeat has made us stronger. We've been learning from you while you've been underestimating us." The floating brain made electronic sounds of confusion. "Explain this." Nathan walked to the center of the room. "For 3 years, you've been fighting human colonies on the edge of our territory. You thought you were winning because you captured some planets. But those weren't real battles. Those were lessons." The aliens looked at each other with growing worry. "Every time you attacked," Nathan continued, "we learned how your ships move, how your weapons work, how your commanders think. Every defeat taught us something new about how to beat you." Prime Vextar's crystal body turned dark red. "You're saying that humans lost battles on purpose?" Nathan shook his head. "No, we fought as hard as we could every time. But we also made sure to learn from every fight. And now we're ready to use everything we've learned." At that moment, alarms began ringing throughout the council station. Red lights flashed everywhere, and alien voices filled the air with panic. Admiral Corvin looked at his communication device with wide eyes. "Fleet positions throughout the Yell Galaxy are reporting simultaneous human attacks. How is this possible? We thought all human ships were defending their colonies." Nathan smiled for the first time since the meetings began. "Admiral, you made the same mistake that every bully makes. You thought about what you could do to us. You never thought about what we could do to you." "Impossible," said the teddy bear. "Alien. Humans don't have enough ships to attack multiple targets. You're right, Nathan agreed. We don't have enough ships. But we do have enough allies. The aliens stared at him in shock. For the past year, Nathan explained, human diplomats have been visiting every species that the Council ignores. Every world that lives in fear of the Zentari. Every colony that has been abandoned. Every people who have been told to accept injustice for the sake of peace. The snake alien's eyes grew wide. You've been building an alliance, Nathan nodded. We've been building something better than an alliance. We've been building a revolution. All those species that you thought were too weak to matter, they've been waiting for someone to stand up to the bullies. They've been waiting for someone to say that freedom is worth fighting for. Prime Vextar's crystal body began flashing rapidly between all colors. This is impossible. The Council controls the galaxy. We have the biggest fleets, the strongest weapons, the oldest civilizations. Nathan looked at the crystal being with calm eyes. Prime Vextar, you control the galaxy through fear. But fear only works until someone shows that the thing you're afraid of can be beaten. Once one person stands up, others find the courage to stand up too. War leader Krextol made his laughing sound again, but this time it sounded different. The humans have done something we never thought possible. They've turned the galaxy's weakness into strength. They've united the weak against the strong. The alarms kept ringing. More reports came in of battles throughout Council space. Species that had been quiet for centuries were suddenly attacking Council positions. Worlds that had been peaceful were declaring independence. What do you want? Prime Vextar asked, his voice sounding very tired. Ambassador Jake Morrison, who had been quietly watching everything, stepped forward. The same thing we wanted from the beginning. Peace, real peace, not the peace of the conquered, but the peace of equals. And how do we achieve this peace? Asked the floating brain. Jake looked around the room at all the worried alien faces. By building a galaxy where every species has the right to choose its own path. Where strong people protect weak people instead of ruling them. Where peace comes from justice, not from fear. Prime Vextar was quiet for a long time. His crystal body slowly changed from red to blue to clear. Finally, he spoke. Ambassador Morrison, on behalf of the Galactic Council, I formally request that the Terran Republic present a new proposal for peace negotiations. Jake Morrison smiled. Prime Vextar, we would be honored to do that. But this time, we negotiate as equals. And this time, we're not the only ones at the table. As the council chamber filled with the sounds of aliens talking excitedly, the age of human obedience ended. The age of galactic cooperation was about to begin.